My name's Nathan McKean, my wife Jennifer. Ginny and I have actually known each other since we were 15. We met in high school. We have just celebrated our 17th anniversary. I don't know how else to describe it. She is just a beautiful woman, inside and out, absolutely.
With Isabel, we didn't find out, well, I didn't find out if she was a girl or boy. Nathan found out and knew that she was a girl. And with Luke, we both found out at 20 weeks that he was a boy, so we were excited to have a boy. And
we were out to dinner, having actually on my birthday dinner, and Ginny excused herself from the table and came back to the dinner table and just whispered in my ear that it's game time, that she's going into labor. So we left dinner and drove home, changed, got our gear, ready to go have round two. Excited to have another baby.
I had a pretty quick labor, and as soon as I delivered him, the doctor handed him to me, and I just remember when they put him in my arms, he was kind of kicking, moving around, and then it was just really quickly that he kind of didn't go limp, but kind of lost some of his vigor. And I work in a NICU, so I handle babies a lot, and I just remember thinking that there was something wrong with him. At that time, I just couldn't figure out what it was because I had had all this testing. And
she grabbed him and she just knew something's not right.
And then I heard the nurse say, we think it's his heart, we think it's his heart, so.
We went from celebrating dinner, having a glass of wine, enjoying being with each other, to it's a whole different day.
You have this baby, you take it home, and then you take care of it, and then
this one was a game changer.
Yeah, it just was completely different.
Now we have this son, and he's got a problem, and we don't really understand it.
It's the most common form of birth defect, congenital heart disease. Around half of 1% of all newborns actually have some type of significant heart disease.
There was a cardiologist that was in the hospital.
I guess they had him diagnosed within a couple hours that it was a transposition of the great arteries of the heart.
Transposition of the great arteries, and that's a heart defect where the large blood vessels that come off the heart are switched. They are coming off the wrong chamber. So normally the blue blood comes back to the right side of the heart and then gets pumped out to the lungs. And then the blood that comes back from the lungs with oxygen in it goes through the left side of the heart and goes out to the body. In transposition, it's just the reverse. So it doesn't have the chance of getting oxygenation. It's incredibly important because it basically gives him a normal heart. It returns the normal flow patterns to the heart.
The hardest part of the surgery, from what the surgeon told us, is just moving the coronary arteries because they're very, very small, and if they weren't moved correctly and they weren't attached correctly, there was nothing they could do to fix it afterwards. I definitely had fear.
I had never heard of the transposition of the great arteries. Of course, Jennifer knew what that was, but I think it's that immediate shock that it takes you a minute to really kind of understand what's going on. Here I am at Children's Hospital, a place where my wife works. My son's upstairs in the PICU with a fairly rare congenital heart defect. I don't know where my daughter is, and none of my family is around me, and I'm just there by myself. It was very strange. That night, I found myself on my knees in the chapel at Children's Hospital. And it's where I made my deal. It's where I made my deal with God. And I told him that if he would let me take this boy home, if he would let us take this baby home, that we'd spend the rest of our lives giving back to this institution and others just like them.
It was a relatively newer heart surgery.
At the time that Luke had this procedure performed, the oldest living kid in the U.S. was maybe 15, 16 years old.
I had just quite a bit of confidence in the fact that he was going to such a great medical institution. I knew where he was going. I think my faith too, I just really something that I just had to put in God's hands.
Come on, Lukey.
I am Luke McKean and I am 11 years old.
Pound it. Good job, Luke.
I'd like to do some sports like hockey and baseball, and then kind of just like to read. I like to cook things for my family. It's fun.
I think that we were very, very blessed. It was a remarkable experience to be able to go through and to be so fortunate that, it was successful and that we've got this, we've got this guy, we've got this hot mess of a 11-year-old. It's just fantastic.
My dad likes to give me a lot of nicknames and my mom just calls me Luke.
He's just got a really joyful spirit. He just kind of sees things differently, I think. He just views the world differently. And
He lives for each day.
yeah, he does.
The story of transposition of the great arteries, which is the heart defect that Luke has, is really inspiring. From something that was a very, very high-risk operation back in the 70s to something now where we can really expect kids to do, in almost all cases, very, very well, to grow up and really live a full and complete life.
When he was born, to think that 20 years ago, every child that was born with that particular defect
Maybe wouldn't have made it.
wouldn't
right?
have made it.
Yeah.
It was just
Or
that simple.
just had a very different outcome.
The only way to get there is with research. Research costs money, and the American Heart Association supports research. So I would hope that people would donate to the American Heart Association so that children like Luke can live a very happy and productive life. St. Louis is really pretty unique. This isn't a tremendously large city, but the amount of excellent medical centers that we actually have in the city is amazing, and the amount of research that goes on here is just astounding as well. And yes, I think the American Heart Association is able to fund research that will make a difference in children's lives right here in St. Louis.
There's so much of our dollars and so much of our resources that have to go towards kind of fixing the problem rather than
being proactive.
So, yeah.
It's very important because I was one of the babies with a heart defect. And if I didn't have that, then I probably wouldn't be alive right now.
You don't have to be a mother to be affected by it. I mean, knowing someone that is going through it.
Guys, dads, we've all been touched by this in one way or another, as Jennifer said. Once you're just kind of dropped into this experience, and then you start to realize that so many people have been touched by this. And being in the concrete business, we've got 250 ready-mix trucks running around the region. Our colors are black and yellow. We've been that way for almost 90 years. And so the trucks are maintaining the black cabs, but the drums are all red, for Go Red for Women, and to advertise for the Heart Association and for St. Louis Children's Hospital. We just thought it was a cool way of doing more. One of the cool things about today and this experience, to be able to step up the game and work with the Heart Association to spread this message, to share this story on such a much bigger scale is something that is very important to us, to try and push the envelope, to get more people engaged, to get more people to be proactive, but also to get more people to give and help us move this thing forward.